My name is Nolan Sitz. I'm an architect with Salomon Cordwell Benz, and I'm accompanied with my colleague Yejin Lee. We're excited to present our initial design for 16771 Redmond Way. As the architect, we're representing our client Amley Residential, Structural and Civil CPL, and Landscape Architect Berger Partnership. Well, for the next 7 minutes, we want to walk you through our design package, some of the site, context, and influential pieces that drove our design and solution for the building. Located at the intersection of Avondale Way and Redmond Way, the site is divided into two halves by the planned Avondale Way extension shown on the city's transportation master plan. Although we're showing the extension as a green lawn, we've been working with the city to accommodate a future road extension. In total, we have 376 units, 442 parking spaces, and 11,000 square feet of retail. The west is designed to target a more traditional renter, while the east is meant for families, larger rooms with more 3-bedroom units. Looking at the site in context, we were inspired by Old Redmond, the original town center, where a number of historic buildings still remain, original Native American homes that were built out of red cedar, and the railway, what it was and what it'll represent in the future.
In the first diagram, we see the basic massing extrusion based on the allowable zoning envelope. Per Redmond zoning, the area lost through setbacks can be regained through a bonus floor, which we've located on the west building as seen in the second diagram. This last diagram shows how the large scale and complex geometry of the site was broken down into two distinct facade expressions. The east, facing the highway, has the horizontal gesture with large frame windows, while the west breaks down the large mass into a few masses to reduce the scale of the building. Next, we want to walk you through the design inspiration for the buildings. For the west building, we were interested in the history of Old Redmond and the scales and proportions of the historical buildings. This is one of the buildings we looked at early on and drew inspiration from the simple yet elegant proportions. As we studied the building, we distilled the proportions into 3 vertical sections, the top, middle, and base. This study helped inform the scale and proportions of our west building. As you can see, we extrapolated the vertical proportions to the modules of this elevation. This elevation uses different proportions to emphasize the verticality of the buildings and maintain a familiar rhythm along the entire facade. By using various proportions, we're able to make the building feel like several different masses instead of one large building. The white fiber cement ties the building together and is paired with a red cedar-looking fiber cement to create variety along the elevation. The black metal acts as a hinge element that connects the masses together and complements the fiber cement.
Zooming out to an aerial view, you can see the massings together. On the west, we work with required setbacks along Redmond Way and the connector to scale down the development so that at varying heights, very much like Old Redmond. Even though it's one large floor plate, we wanted it to feel like 6 smaller buildings. These pictures represent the material palettes we're proposing, red cedar and white fiber cement on the west, while the east is a black corrugated metal with light wood accents to contrast. Looking at the building from the other side, you can see the required setbacks along the Redmond connector, 3 courtyards spaced around the buildings to break up the massing, and amenities sprinkled at the ground level and 2 to activate various sides. We're proposing a central drop-off along Avondale Way with vehicular access at the corner and along our easement. To the south, we have residential amenities as it meets the connector, and on the north, we have retail fronting Redmond Way. A couple highlights on the landscape plan. Starting at the north, we wrap retail so they can spill out into the plaza. Along our pathway, we have trees and planters, and on the south, we're proposing recreational pooch porches to engage the RCC. This is a typical residential plan. The west building is made up of 3 wings to reduce the massing of the building with an elevator planned in the center. The east building is a U-shaped courtyard that faces south, which on the second floor makes for a perfect play space for children and families. As the building increases in height, we have to set back 20 feet along the north and south at levels 5 and 6. A link to the future. We were also inspired by the railroad, the first connection made to Seattle in 1889, what it did for Redmond and some of the original locomotive trains that traveled on it. Whereas the west building was about the top, middle, and base, we wanted this building to contrast and be about the front, mid, and back. The front can be seen from Redmond Way as you get off the highway or are traveling in from the future light rail. The scale of this elevation was meant to be read 200 feet out. We're proposing a large frame face in wood with a series of black metal lines on top to play off the railroad tracks. We wanted the midsection to be very rhythmic and feel more horizontal. At the back, we recreated the signature frame but scaled it down so that it's more playful with the setbacks. This is a view of the south elevation with proposed materials, black corrugated metal with light wood accents.
Now that we've gone through the design concepts and organization of the buildings, we'll go through some of the perspectives. This view is taken from the southwest corner looking northeast, visualizing what the project would look like for someone walking from the future light rail station towards the development. We've masked the portion of the future RCC path by sound transit for clarity, but you can see in this next view what the project would look like coexisting with the RCC path. This next view spins us around to the south and shows the activated street level with the ground level amenities in both buildings. The site has one main street frontage at Redmond Way, and the remaining frontages are interior lot lines. We've carefully designed all the facades to create a unique exterior expression. Again, this is what the view would look like coexisting with the RCC path. This next view is one that people would experience as they get off the highway and head southwest on Redmond Way. The horizontal continuity of the east building and the vertical masses of the west building are apparent in this view. Making our way down Redmond Way, we can see that even though the two buildings have juxtaposing facade expressions, they're tied together at the ground level with the consistency of the storefronts and pedestrian experience. Making our way to the west, we can see how the motifs of scale and proportion have been carried through to this facade. The rectangular grid minimizes the perception of the frontage being one long face. Zooming into the plaza, we can see how it's activated by the retail that spills out and engages the public. We also see the two trees in front of the retail frontage we're planning to preserve. Lastly, we can see how the retail facade engages with the sidewalk at Redmond Way and provides an improved pedestrian experience with the open courtyard above. That concludes the tour of the development. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to hearing your feedback.